It's 2012, and Freddie Wong is an internet sensation. A former Guitar Hero champion, his YouTube channel is blowing up. Videos focusing on video games and special effects had ballooned his channel to 1 million subscribers in only a year. Videos such as Medal of Army Cat or Key and Peele Mexican Standoff or Roller Coaster Tycoon. And then this video.
Hi guys, we're the team behind VGHS.
A Kickstarter for a new web series, Video Game High School. Back in the days when we still trusted Kickstarter, this fundraiser was an immense success. And I remember as I waited desperately for the first episode to come out, I felt an intense optimism. The internet had been busy revolutionizing everything, comedy, communication, business, and now the internet was going to revolutionize television. And then it didn't. Storytelling has always been deeply tied to the technology and the formats available at the time. Memento would never work as a stage play. Jim and Pam would never work as a movie. Infinite Jest would work as nothing but literature. It could never be a movie. When Video Game High School first started airing in 2012, it felt like this is what storytelling on the internet was supposed to look like. Crowdfunded, amateur in origins, and available for free, Video Game High School was the platonic ideal of the web series, which at the time seemed like it was going to be the next big thing. Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog, a production of Joss Whedon's released for free during the writer's strike, showed what could be done with the format with some talent and some know-how. 3 20-minute episodes, playing with the idea of the blog, it was a massive creative success, winning 4 Streamies and a Primetime Emmy. And if you want something more long-form, there was The Guild, building on similar themes between the two. Also starring Felicia Day, The Guild was about a group of players on an MMORPG, like World of Warcraft. Each episode started out with a vlog by Felicia's character, and then it would get into the nitty-gritty of it. And then came along VGHS. Freddie Wong wasn't a Hollywood player. He wasn't Felicia Day or Neil Patrick Harris or Joss Whedon. He was born and bred on the internet, and he was about to do something different. Once a week for 9 weeks, Rocket Jump, Freddie Wong's production company, released a 9 to 22-minute long episode about the exploits of Brian D. Who in the near future, after killing a celebrity gamer almost on accident, gets sent to the most prestigious institute in the country to become the world's best video gamer. And it's good. I know the premise may seem juvenile, but it's genuinely good. And not in like a I was 11 when this came out and so it's important to me sort of way. Not like those YouTube videos that do a 3-hour retrospective on Shark Boy and Lava Girl and they're like, it was ahead of its time. No, it's not. But in a genuine way. And yeah, it's a little corny at times with things like the Pwn Zone or using the words like noobs a lot. It's a bit dated in that regard, but I think that's the nature of making something relevant. It's a high school show that's themed around gaming, but it's also about the classic high school show stuff. First loves and rivalries and all of the stuff that good TV is about. Brian Frenzy plays a fantastic villain, the Law, who clearly looks too old to be in high school, but who cares? It's silly, it's joyous, and it's not cynical in a very, very 2010s way. It's really fun. Will Brian D finally get Jenny Matrix? Will Jimmy Wong get his dad's approval? And I'm not necessarily saying it's the greatest show of all time, but it was so exciting. We were only 7 years into this great YouTube experiment, and this is what we were already getting. What were we going to get in 10 years, 15, 20? Video Game High School ran for 3 seasons, ending in 2015. And as it went on, it got a larger budget and got more polished. And what I realized is, as the show got better and better, it started representing the internet less and television more. It's the same thing that happened to The Guild. As the video quality on Felicia's Day's vlogs got higher quality, they stopped representing the thing they were based on more and more. The fate of all web series is to become television and betray themselves in the process. There's a reason The Guild and Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog and Video Game High School have all appeared on Netflix. And almost as if the internet recognized that, the web series began to disappear. It doesn't really exist anymore. For the first 10 years, the Streamy's final awards of the night were awarded to the best scripted comedy and drama series. Now those are an afterthought. Do you guys remember Quibi? Quibi was going to be the Netflix of phones. They spent $1.5 billion on producing vertical programming to watch on your phone. Each episode was only going to be 10 minutes. Each movie was going to be split up into 10 to 12-minute chunks. It was going to make stories not for the television or the laptop, but for the phone. 15 years after the foundation of YouTube, Quibi launched in April of 2020, when we were all staying indoors. It had programming from Christoph Waltz, Will Arnett, LeBron James. It was nominated for 10 Emmys and won 2. And it shut down in December of 2020. It ran for just 9 short months. Quibi was trying to fill a niche that didn't exist. It turns out people didn't want to watch television the same way that people watch TikTok. What VGHS, The Guild, and Quibi failed to ask is why would storytelling on the internet look like storytelling on TV? Fiction on YouTube is already competing with fiction on Netflix. They're open on the same page in your browser. You're probably not going to be able to tell a Netflix story without a Netflix budget as well as Netflix. But that doesn't mean you can't tell a great story or a story more interesting than Netflix. The mistake that Quibi made, and the much less expensive mistake that I made in predicting that Video Game High School was going to change the world, was not realizing that they were making television for the digital age, when we should have been asking, how do we tell stories in the digital age? On March 12th, 2017, a video was uploaded to YouTube titled Petscop. Petscop is not a video game. It is not a TV show. It is not a blog or a Let's Play or a podcast. It is something different. Clocking in at 9 minutes and 7 seconds, Petscop opens up with the Sony Computer Entertainment logo, and then the PlayStation logo. In the video, the unnamed narrator, who we can assume is named Paul, plays through an unfinished PlayStation 1 game that they found. At first glance, it seems like a fun, silly family game that you may have played in the late 90s or early 2000s. But the game box came with instructions on how to access a hidden section of the game, and as the video progresses and Paul delves deeper into it, a darker side comes out. And as more episodes are released, it gets darker and more complex, and through it all, it remains different than The Guild or Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Because while those pay lip service to blogging and start their episodes with it, they deviate, they show things off-screen. Petscop never does. Each video with Paul's narration isn't uploaded for us, it's uploaded for an unnamed you. The videos are created to be sent to one specific person, like the audience viewing it is an accident. 24 episodes, some with narration and some without, but all uploaded with the premise of somebody finding an old video game. We never break character, we never meet the narrator, we never pan out and have a guy be like, "What's happening in this game? I guess we have to figure it out." When Paul later does check out a real-life location, they don't film it. Other than a couple of hints dropped in dialogue, there's nothing else. And the game is completely fake, completely made up. There's no such thing as Petscop. There's no such company as Garalina. And it's hugely popular. Millions of people have watched videos explaining the lore or analysis of the themes or the fan theories. And it's complex. It deals with the heavy themes of abuse and trauma. It's masterfully made, and it deserves all of the praise that's been heaped upon it. Petscop and the story around it, the lore, the theories, the excitement, the unblinking commitment to format, is the sort of story that could only be told on the internet. In its casual uploading to a random website, Petscop allows itself to sit in the amateurism and quote-unquote reality of how we consume on the internet. It tells an internet story. Or another internet story. Let's flash back to 2006. It's 2006, the year after YouTube was founded, even before Freddie Wong had started his YouTube channel. For a brief time, the most subscribed to channel on the platform was Lonely Girl 15. Her channel was made up of mostly the zany, quirky, lo-fi type of content that categorized the internet before the entire place got so corporate and official. These videos were all about 2 minutes long and featured her and her friend Dan. These videos were dumb bits with the occasional allusion to some low-level relationship drama. There was continual tension regarding the relationship between her and Dan, as well as hints about her relationship with her parents and their weird, unnamed religion. And much like Petscop, though the videos started out silly, slowly they got more serious. Like here's a video where our protagonist thinks she's being stalked by somebody. And everyone was talking about it until some true fans did some digging and found out it was fake! Gasp! Miles Beckett and Ramesh Flinders had concocted the series after Beckett had discovered how hard it was to tell whether something was real or fake on the platform. Lonely Girl 15 had a budget and writers and was building to a sci-fi element. And as time went on, the channel began to feature more cults and religions and ciphers and more sci-fi, traditionally horror-type elements. The main actress wasn't even American, she was Australian. And people had suspected the show before, but even before it was revealed it was fake, Lonely Girl 15 was the most subscribed to channel on the platform. But what I think is also worth noting is that the channel became even more popular once people realized that it was fake. There was a clamor for the reality and the fiction of it. I have to imagine it felt a little like when the train didn't hit those people watching the first movie. Relief at first, but then probably surprisingly some element of disappointment. What Beckett and Flinders had seen and attempted to capitalize on was the potential to use the language of the internet, short-form video and blogging, to tell a story. What I like most about Lonely Girl 15 and Petscop is that they're not trying to be TV. They're playing on the even ground of the internet and using the language of it. And I think it makes sense that they're both playing at the real. The first writing was list-making, the first oral storytelling traditions were myth-making, the first photos were portraits, the first movies were documentaries. Whenever a new format comes around, the first pieces of fiction tend to be obfuscating the fact that they are. The author has not given his effort here the benefit of knowing whether it is a history, autobiography, gazette, or fantasy. That isn't a quote about Lonely Girl 15 or Petscop, that's a quote from the New York Globe about Moby Dick in 1851. As time goes on, we become more and more willing to agree to the big lie, to believe in the fiction. And as we suspend our disbelief, we allow ourselves to create more and more interesting pieces of art. Take, for example, another great internet piece, which I see as almost a creative progression from Petscop, the Monument Mythos. The Monument Mythos is a web horror series that uses the language of reality, documentary, footage, interview. But instead of being about a video game or a girl, it's about an alternative history where James Dean becomes president of the United States and there are creatures hidden beneath American monuments. And it is fantastic. It uses a completely different language than traditional television to tell a gripping story about a world where something's gone wrong, and though you don't realize it at first, a story that keeps coming back to one family. This episode is done like a family trip video made in Movie Maker. This one is done like an interview from a woman reflecting on her childhood. This one is an excerpt from a fake documentary. Some of them are 3 minutes, some of them are 18, but all of the episodes exist in a format that wouldn't work on TV, that isn't trying to be TV. What executive would let you put something like this out there? It tells a story in the fractured way we view the world now. I don't follow characters or watch the news. I see clips, I read comments, and I scroll. This is a language that speaks to me. It's fractured. It exists almost to be talked about and theorized and engaged with as much as it does to be consumed. What makes more sense in the digital age? I think it makes sense to me that the most exciting new media is in horror. It's the same reason that so many directors or writers get their start in the genre. It's the cheapest to make, and fear is the easiest and quickest emotion to capture, which is a big deal when attention spans are so low. Creepypastas have always been at the forefront of digital storytelling. Local 58 or Slenderman the Backrooms, which is less a specific series and more so an entire communally built mythos. Or the SCP Foundation, which is so interesting because it doesn't exist as anything other than a wiki, and yet there's lore and a mythos and games built around it. I think it's very exciting that there are new ways to tell stories that we're just getting at. Freddie Wong and the Rocket Jump YouTube channel haven't posted in 7 years. After VGHS finished, they kept it up for a while, including another series, Anime Crimes Division. But eventually, the key creators all moved on into different ventures. Brandon Latch went on to make popular VR games. Freddie runs a popular Dungeons & Dragons podcast game, which is another form of storytelling I might talk about at some point. It's hard not to look at Rocket Jump's disappearance as a sort of signal that some era of storytelling on the internet is over. The YouTube algorithm has shifted away from incentivizing short, high-quality content to longer-form stuff. And with it, the world that Freddie inhabited is gone. Spending thousands of dollars on a 2-minute video isn't economical anymore. But while making this video, I was browsing the Rocket Jump subreddit and I stumbled across Freddie's Reddit account. And what I discovered was he doesn't seem to be bitter about anything at all. In fact, almost every one of his comments is on a post about somebody being overtly negative about the state of filmmaking, and him responding with optimism about the future of storytelling and filmmaking in general, an immense knowledge of different formats, and what to me reads as genuine excitement. And in the spirit of that, I want to pitch some of my favorite things that are happening in internet fiction storytelling right now. This isn't an expansive list, merely some things that I think are cool. That Instagram account where the city gets updated for every real-life subscriber. Have We Met, a subreddit where hundreds of people build a world together and roleplay in a quiet, real way. The Veronica and Kyle kiss at New Year's, who are two roommates who make sketches about each other, with each other, and there's a long-running bit that Veronica's in love with him, and then on New Year's she kissed him and it seemed real? I don't know, because I've only viewed the storyline through scrolling in the algorithm, but maybe that's how storytelling is going to be. The same guy from the City Instagram account who does an animated series where people vote on what the characters should do. The clear and obvious fiction of all things on Reddit advice forums. The Life of Norman, slice of life fiction on a subreddit about a really drab guy. You go through more entertainment in a day than your ancestors did in their entire lives, and the language of the internet is nonfiction. Think about what you consume on a daily basis. Podcasts, day in the lives, interviews, top 5 best sports moments. All the fiction that you do consume is probably comedy sketches, which aren't that concerned with telling a story. I mean, people have even begun engaging with fiction through nonfiction, like watching a 2-hour analysis of a TV show you've never watched. But fiction is important. Roger Ebert says that movies are the great empathy-making machine, but I think that holds true for all fiction. It's easy to see someone on the internet telling you to hate somebody, but if you watch a movie or read a book from their eyes, you can begin to understand them. Fiction translates ideas into feelings, and feelings are digestible. It's possible to change our minds through it. When the camera was first invented, movies were just plays that they filmed. You know why Citizen Kane is probably the most influential film of all time? Because it was the first to truly ask, what can we do with the camera, and how can we take it to the extreme? I'm so convinced that there's some 16-year-old out there who's going to make the Citizen Kane of digital storytelling. I don't know if it's going to be multimedia or soap opera or analog horror, but whatever it is, I'm so excited. And you guys should be too.